Hello, 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 and welcome to another edition of Bomber's Call-In Show. I don't know what I'm calling this anymore. My wallpaper's all screwed up because I broke something, and I don't know what's going on. I did have a bunch of energy though, and I didn't want to wait till the top of the hour, so we're going to start a couple minutes early. So anybody who's here with me right now, I appreciate you being here. This is supposed to be Bombers Blitz. For some reason, the media assets will not switch, and I can't find a background. No, that's music, and I don't think you guys want to hear. Oh, maybe there it is. Okay, I screwed it up. It didn't switch. That's not my fault, Moen. It's not my fault. Anyway, appreciate everybody being here tonight. Yeah, I'm going to do a little ranting and raving, and then I want to get to phone calls. You know, it's my new favorite thing. It's one thing I always wanted to do, and now that I figured out how to do it, I'm addicted to it. I want to do it all the time. But a couple of headline things that I want to get today, and then of course I'll take your phone calls. We'll talk about whatever you want to. I'm not ready to call this Dear Abby time, but it is Bombers therapy time. Maybe we'll call it that. Maybe it'll be the Bomber therapy hour or something to that effect, which ends up being closer to 2 hours. So I don't know if you guys want any of that or not. I appreciate you being here tonight. Whoever's here first, might as well shout out the guys that were first in the door. Stephen Vitt, Caden the Diesel Freak. Now there's a name. I like that, Caden. Make sure you subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and follow the College Football Mafia on Twitter as well. We have several shows. We have a lot of different things we do. This is more of a everybody joins, sort of has a little fun. We make fun of national figures that do stupid things in sports, and specifically college sports. I don't do a lot of pro stuff, and I hope you enjoy it. I try to be entertaining. So thanks for being here, Caden the Diesel Freak. I'm going to put that up just because I love saying that over and over. You and Go Black 45, a couple of the best names that I've had. I have a top 10. I'm not going to say them all right now, but you're now number 10, Caden. I appreciate you being here. Stephen Vitz also in the house saying, hey guys, call-in show tonight. Yes, let's do this. We're going to do call-ins. I'm going to read an article. This article was written by Dan Wolken, USA Today, and it's a fantastic article. I would post a link. Everybody will get a chance to read along with me. We'll do a little Mr. Rogers in the neighborhood. We'll read along, and hopefully we can get something out of it, and you guys will enjoy it. It should be entertaining from that standpoint. And then the other story we could continue to cover, is this nonsense about the college football playoff negotiations. Greg Sankey says one thing, Greg Sankey says another thing. What does Greg Sankey really think? I have no idea. I just know it's not for the betterment of college football, like Brett Yormark said. The SEC doesn't care. And I think we need to learn from that. And I think the Big Ten is learning from that. And I'm not dancing on anybody's grave. Certainly the Big 12 is not in a position to be able to tell or boss anybody around. BYU, Big 12, we try to do that around here. We can't do that because they don't have all the irons in the fire, but neither do the Big 10, who honestly, and now I think I understand where Moen was coming from. They wanted that scheduling alliance with the SEC, not necessarily because they want to tie the SEC to more A4 games. I don't think it has Power 4 games. It has nothing to do with that at all. They're trying to insulate themselves. They need more games against better brands. And yes, they've won the last 2 national championships. Michigan cheated. I say that out loud. Michigan cheated. That's okay. They got caught, but nobody cares. So I don't get bent over about it. Ohio State was the best team at the end of the year last year. They deserved it. But nobody is going to say that the SEC doesn't go 12, 13, 14 teams deep every year. Nobody's going to say that. Anybody who's saying that, don't listen to them. Unsubscribe, don't pay attention. The SEC goes 12, 13, 14 teams deep every year. It's because their recruiting is so good. They might not all play to that level, but you put those teams in some of these other conferences, I think it would be really, it's asinine when people say, no, they wouldn't succeed in other conferences. That's nonsense. These teams are built to play in the SEC. It might take them a little while to learn how to win in the Big Ten. Big Ten's a different league. They built different. Big, strong, guys chucking hay and everything else. I don't know what you do in the Big Ten, Rust Belt area anymore. But it's silly to say that the SEC doesn't have, they're extremely deep. Big Ten doesn't go that deep. Big Ten's 8, 9. I think with USC now, in my last count, it was 9 that you could say are brands that you could rely on every single year. Not that you won't have Indiana's pop up every once in a while. That's going to happen. But the Big Ten's not helping themselves either. Big Ten's Indiana is getting made to look the fool. And I know they're trying to just work within the system, but right now, Indiana is looking the fool because they can go out and win all their games. Nobody's going to respect what they do. They're going to say, well, we don't care. We play in a power conference. We don't care if our out of conference is no good. We play in a power conference that's one of the power 2, if you want to say that. Why do we care what our out of conference is? We need to win our conference games and get to the playoff. That's all we're built to do. The SEC can't do that. And look, I love hating on the SEC. Most of it's jealousy hate. If my school was in it, I would love it. So anyway, I didn't mean to do that little rant, but that it just sort of, it bugs me, the CFP negotiation stuff. So we're not going to start off with that tonight. I want to welcome everybody to the show. We are full on in it now, almost 4 minutes past the hour. So I appreciate everybody joining tonight. We will be doing call-ins a little bit later. I'm going to do some shout outs right now, and then I'm going to get right into this article, but from Dan Wolken at USA Today that's talking about the House settlement, the College Sports Commission, NIL, and all that other stuff. I want to talk about that, and I hope you guys want to engage about that, because that's, I think, what was in the, can the White House save college football? This whole thing about President Trump doing anything that's going to make a difference. Maybe we'll do a little civics lesson at the same time. Anyway, let's do some quick shout outs. I appreciate everybody being here early. Moen says he was first, and he was first because he set up the show, so he's kind of cheating. Daniel Gygax right after him. Good to see you, Daniel. Says hi, everyone. Stephen Vitt again says, hey guys, call in show today. Yep. I'm going to say it again. Caden the Diesel Freed. I love that name. BR checking in. Where have you been, BR? I've missed you. It's so good to see you. You put a smile on my face. Can you tell? I appreciate you being here, brother. It's so good to see you. I hope you're doing well. I hope Oklahoma State does well this year. I'm for you. Bob Swanger checking in, representing the Penn State Nittany Lions. Good to see you, Bob. Let's see here. Scroll down. Oh, I guess there's not a lot of comments, so I'm not going to dive into those much more then. Usually miss the live show. Okay, well, it's great. I appreciate you being here. I miss seeing you. That's all I'm saying. I'm sad that we miss you on the live shows, but if you're watching it after, that's obviously great. I'm going to plug the show really quick. I would encourage everybody to, as we start getting ready to build into this next season, that's when our membership numbers really go up. They do that because we do member shows during the season. It was very successful last year. We will do them again this year. We won't have as many of these news and information shows. I will do call-in shows, though. Might pick a different day, but we are going to do call-in shows during the season, and those are going to be lively because now we're going to be talking about actual football, which is what anybody's here to talk about anyway. But if you become a member, not only do I defer to your member comments, they always get preference. Super chats always get super preference, but if you're a member, I prefer to read those comments first, and then of course you have access to our entire library of membership videos and membership events. We're going to have some more membership events as we get closer to the season, and then during the season we'll do some too. So I encourage everybody to consider becoming a new member. I was on last night, and oh gosh, I just spaced his name. I'm sorry. Somebody bought 5 memberships last night. Who was that? Somebody remind me in the comments. It was Wisconsin. Mr. Wisconsin. Who am I thinking of, guys? I'm sorry, I'm spacing. Bob, who is it? Who's the Wisconsin fan that we love around here? My mind just went blank. I apologize. It's because I'm thinking about three different things at the same time. I will remember. I will say his name. He's fantastic. And he did 5 memberships last night, gifted memberships. I really appreciate those. If you would like to become a member, Ryan Willie, thank you very much, Daniel. I appreciate it. Tumasta in the house. There you go, Bob Swinger. Thanks. See, everybody's calling me on it. Thank you. I love being checked. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate you. I need your help every once in a while for sure. Tumasta, it's good to see you too. Anyways, so new memberships, consider becoming a new member or re-engage if you've already been a member in the past. You get submitted, and of course you're OG around here regardless. Anyway, so that's enough of that. I think what we'll do, I've said hi to everybody that wants to say hi to me. If you want to say hi, say hi to me quick in the comments. Otherwise, I'm going to move on. We are watching on X right now. I may or may not turn that off. I know a lot of people like to watch on X. It's easy. It comes across your stream. If you are watching, though, do us a favor and jump over on the YouTube page, College Football Mafia. Just do a search. It pops right up. We're the first, only ones. And hit that subscribe button. Turn on your notifications while you're there. Also, turn your notifications on Twitter, and you can keep track of the news that we repost. We don't break a lot of news ourselves around here, but we do information that nobody else does. Customized information that's just for people that follow us. But we appreciate everybody being here. And I know it's a Thursday night, a lot of other things going on in the week. So I appreciate you being here tonight and spending some time with me. This should be a lot of fun. DeReal MVP 24. Good to see you. Another really good name. He top 50 name that I've engaged with here. DeReal MVP 24. And then Joaquin Morales checking in, representing the great state of Arizona at Arizona State. Forks up, I think is what they say. Hey, Bomber and College Football Mafia, good to see you. Go Devils. Yep. Arizona State's looking good this next year. They should be good. Big 12 is going to be good this year. I said last year they were going to be good. Big 12 was good last year. Can we get a second team in? That's going to be the debate. Brett Yormark has thrown himself on the spit of 5'11", so we will find out one way or the other. Chris G checking in saying, "What up, ACC haters?" And look, I don't hate the ACC. I just think they're kind of fools. Chris, you know that. The schools, I'm not ripping on the school. Well, there have been a couple schools I've ripped on, but not your school. I don't know. I don't have issues with the ACC except to say that they're lapdogs for the SEC and ESPN. That's the only thing I could say about that. But I appreciate you coming around. It's great to see you, Chris. I really enjoy you being in the wings and keeping me straight. BR7062, you can't find the join button. Are you on your phone? BR, you can't join on your phone. I don't know why. Twitter's doing something to hurt YouTube or something. You have to do it on a computer. If you want to become a new member, you have to hit the join button on the main College Football Mafia page on your computer. I'm sorry. I don't make the rules. I wish we could do it. Now, to do a super chat or something like that, hit the $sign. Oh, wait, can you become a new member there, or is it just gifted memberships? Bob, I'm not sure. That's not really my department around here. I don't deal with that very often. Okay, so let's get to the news first, and then we will do calls, and then we'll see where the show goes after that. So let me bring this up right now. You can only dream about getting the biggest brand in Virginia in the Big 12. Yeah, okay. I hope you're talking about Virginia Tech. I would love Virginia Tech in the Big 12. And I do dream about it. I think the Big 12 would be great with Virginia Tech. It's not a great fit for Virginia. But Virginia Tech, it definitely is. And yeah, Bob says you can't join. I wish you could join. It just sucks. It sucks that you can't join from your phone. All right, so let's reset the table. We always give credit where credit's due. I'm gonna make sure I post the link to this article. I encourage everybody to go get this link, and we'll do a little read with me. This is an article written just today. Dan Wolken. It was repopped and posted and commented on by Darren Heitner, one of the consigliaries we have around here. FCS guy says, hi, Bomber, can't wait for football. Either can I. FCS guy, either can I. I love the FCS because that's what they do. They have a tournament. They have a real. I love the way the FCS does it. All right. So this article, I cruised right by the title. NCAA settlement for college sports already facing challenges. Was this the plan all along? So he's saying, was this written? The House settlement, was it written with a poison pill? Was it written essentially to fail on purpose? To show that what they were trying to do just wasn't possible. I'm not sure what the methodology would be behind it, but that's kind of where this starts off. So I'm basically going to read almost this whole article, and we're going to break it into pieces and sort of talk through as they mean different things to different people. There are only two possible, and again, this is Dan Wolken, USA Today. There are only two explanations for what's happened during the first couple of weeks of college sports' new pay-for-play rules. Either the power conferences got duped by signing off on the House versus NCAA settlement, or they built it to fail intentionally. You can make pretty good arguments for both. And then here's a recap, and this is where it's really important because this happened just last week. Everybody should cover it. All right, here we go. Here's the basic recap. Last week, the new College Sports Commission, CSC, that's what everybody says now, sent a memo to schools explaining that some name, image, and likeness deals were being denied because they come from booster collectives rather than regular businesses. Put that regular businesses in quotes. Okay, so what is a regular business? They're trying to define what a regular business is. They don't have the power to define that. They can build rules in the organization of the NCAA and the A4 and the governance. They can build rules. It's like a club. It's like a members only club that you belong to that say you have to fit these standards, right? You have to all these things to qualify to be in our club. That is a rule. It's not a law, though. So people need to understand there's a huge difference here between rules and laws, right? It's the guidelines, not rules thing. Whatever movie that was from. It's all guidelines, not rules. All right. The CSC is the group appointed by the power conferences and tasked with enforcing the $20.5 million revenue sharing cap and NIL rules that came out of the settlement. It later came out after they sent out this guidance. It came out that they actually aren't. They're accepting about 90% of the deals that are coming into the CSC. So that's a pretty big number, right? I mean, that's a lot. That's a great proportion of all the submitted deals since July 1st. But there is a 10% that they're just writing off. And the thing that stands out about the 10% is they all are just from booster collectives. That's it. There's nothing else that makes them stand apart except for the fact that they're booster collectives. Okay? Keep that in the back of your mind. The plaintiff attorneys in the House case, led by Jeffrey Kessler and Steve Berman, they're the guys who are getting something like $800 million to do this settlement. And if that doesn't blow you away, almost $1 billion for two lawyers and their teams to settle this case with. And when they saw a mark with the NCAA and the power conferences, they saw a mark and they scored $800 million plus. Responded by demanding a retraction of that memo and suggesting that the CSC must treat collectives like other businesses or else it's off to court. So this all happened last week. They came out and they said, oh, wait a second, we're receiving these deals coming from booster collectives. We don't think it's anything more than pay for play. That's their interpretation. Other people might look at the same data and say, no, it's not. We're doing X, Y, and Z. This is a business. The business is, and then so there's this stress, right? And if everybody remembers when this all came and was announced over 2 years ago now, I said this thing was going to just blow up in its face. And I wasn't the only one, but I was part of a small minority that said this almost had no chance to get off the ground. And what do we already got? We got Title IX lawsuits day one. We have Booster Collective and NIL lawsuits I think this is day 14, or maybe it was less than that. Maybe day 11 from last week. thing hasn't even had a chance to spread its wings, and it's already getting these lawsuits. Okay, we'll continue. And now on Wednesday, yesterday, with SEC Commissioner Sankey acknowledging there could be a much softer cap if booster collectives are put in the same category as other businesses. Okay, so he's saying 17 days. From start to finish, we're 17 days in. But this is the thing that everybody that hates BYU, everybody that hates Texas Tech, everybody that hates, I'm trying to think of SECs. I mean, all the SEC schools have all kinds of money. Whether they're in boosters, I'm not sure. I know collectives exist in the Big Ten. I don't know anything about the ACC. So if you're an ACC person, Chris, in the comments, does your school have a huge collective? To compete, it's going to have to be. And I only use BYU and Texas Tech, one, because I know the most about them personally. I know the most about their organization and the way they work and what they're doing with their money. And two, they're the ones that have been publicized the most. Other conferences have schools that are doing the exact same thing, but they're not in the top 5 of recruiting classes. They're not the number 1 transfer portal class like Texas Tech had, came out of nowhere. So yesterday they weren't even spending money. I'm obviously stretching. They weren't spending money yesterday. Now they're spending a gaggle of money. What's the difference? And oh, wait, it's collectives paying to bring in players, right? And at the end of the day, what's this all about? It's about winning football games. Okay, we'll continue. A much softer cap. What's he saying there? Greg Sankey's basically saying, yeah, hard cap's not probably going to fly. We thought we'd try it. We thought maybe it might work. But a hard cap's going to be extremely difficult to enforce. And I will throw on top of that, he didn't mention it here, but the idea that you could have a salary cap for the players is impossible. Absolutely impossible without a CBA or some contract with the players that say you guys can collectively bargain, then we can set salary tiers. QBs can only make up to this. Running backs can only make up to this. That's how you organize labor. And that's how you pay people in real life. There's unions all over the world. And to basically continue to take advantage of these athletes without paying them anything is ludicrous. Has always been ludicrous. All right, we'll continue. So 17 days in. We'll go down here a little bit further. Are we ready? Are we really supposed to believe that after years of negotiating this settlement to build the so-called guardrails, schools wanted around NIL, a settlement, by the way, that will cost $2.8 billion in damages over the next 10 years. Oh, but wait, that 0.8, that $800 million goes directly to the lawyers. The $2 billion is what has to pay for the back pay for the last 5 years to athletes that aren't in the system anymore, or maybe are just on their last year. And then, so that 5 years is set aside, and then it's supposed to pay for the next 5 or 10 years, which is the average of that's where you get the 20.5 million. That's how that all comes out. That's the reason it's the number. It's roughly 22% of the cap for everybody. And it was supposed to even out everything. Is that the way it's working out? You guys, I'll open the phone lines. You guys can call me and tell me if you think that's the way it's working out, because I don't think it's working out like that at all. We'll keep going. That they didn't have clarity on the key element and whether it has a chance of working. So he's basically asking a question that everybody really knows the answer to. What were they doing here with this agreement in the first place? What are they trying to attain? What are they trying to get accomplished? If it's create a hard cap, almost impossible without CBA. Not going to get salary caps without a CBA or some other type of. And people have questioned me. Well, Nathan, you can't, Bomber, you can't do these things with CBA. Just doesn't work. It will never work. Don't use the word CBA. I can't tell you how many DMs or personal phone calls I've received from people that have just eviscerated me up and down about how there cannot ever be a CBA to cover every football player in America. That's exactly right. There cannot be. So it has to be slimmed down. Has to be slimmed down. Has to be cut down. Is 136 schools too many? Yeah, probably. I think the most we could probably manage reasonably is somewhere between 60 and 80 schools. I think it has to be more than 48. Nothing in the 50s feels good to me. So 60 is the number I've settled on. There's a few ways we can get to that. It's not for tonight, but there are ways that we can shrink those numbers down and also get everybody on the same page for protecting athletes, giving them their money, while at the same time instituting some simple guidelines for paying players. And none of that can happen with this thing that's broken. So the soft cap comment I found just hilarious because they're the ones who were looking for the hard cap. At least that's what they told us. Whether it complies with Title IX, again, open question. And whether it's legal for the CSC to determine what constitute fair market value. That's another that should be in quotes actually. What in the hell's fair market value? Somebody tell me what fair market value is, please. In the United States of America, where California and New York and Texas have a majority of all the money that comes into the United States, what is fair market value for the rest? I don't know. Eventually, a judge is going to rule what fair market value means, or Congress is going to get off their asses and they're going to do something. They're going to pass a law. And I'm not talking about giving an antitrust exemption to call it. That's the simplest and stupidest solution is give the protections back to college football. If you do that, all the progress we've made for the athletes to get the money that they deserve is going to disappear. They're going to roll everything back, and we're going to go to a dark age that I don't want to go back to, where it's really ugly black money in dark places to get athletes where they're going. And now you'll bring back in the FBI and you'll have people breaking laws and stuff. It will be horrible if that's the future. If we go back to a blanket protection antitrust for the NCAA and Power 4 or A4 conferences, I'm just, call me Karnak, Moses, I don't care. It will not be good. For us, it won't be good for the product that we see, and it will extremely shrink down the amount of schools that have any ability to compete. Right now, you probably have 20 teams that could play for a championship, arguably, with the way transfer portal and NIL has gone. That number would shrink to back like what it's been, 6, 7, 8. And what's everybody else doing around? Just holding up the wallpaper? I don't know. I really hope we don't get there. We continue here, and I'm going to post the link again so you guys know. Dan Wolken, this is from USA today. In other words, if some rich business owners wants to pay Johnny linebacker $750,000 to play for their favorite school while doing some autograph signings and TV commercials, that's NIL, right? That's NIL. Can a third-party enforcement group really deny that payment because money attached is far bigger than comparable endorsement deals? What does that even mean? What is a comparable endorsement deal? I think you could argue that Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, whether they went out and won football games, is irrelevant because they were making bank selling ads. Travis Hunter did he did like plane commercials and had some other things. AJ DeBanza right now signed like I don't know if it's like 8-digit deal with Tops. Was it Rivals? I can't remember who it was. To do advertising for them. He's the number one basketball recruit. There are some of these guys that aren't like the others. Archie Manning. You could argue he's not the greatest football player in the world, but his name sells tickets. His name, wherever he goes, he is the guy, the belle of the ball. there's a reason for that, and they should make more money for that. Just like the all-star salesman at a company should make more money if he's the one out there selling more product. And that's where we live, right? We're not in communist Russia where everybody has to pool their money and hopefully everybody will sort of pull themselves up. That's not what America has ever been. So if you're cheering for that, I would just recommend maybe just looking at the idea on its face and just say, is this really what I want? It might not be the greatest for my school. I get that. I get a lot of the schools that aren't happy that BYU and Texas Tech are spending money like drunken sailors. BYU's not, but they're spending money other people don't have. All of a sudden, that's not okay. When people have been doing it for 50 years and now it's supposed to be legal, all of a sudden it's not okay. I have problems with that. Okay. Let me keep reading this. Let's see here. Autograph signings and local TV commercials. Can a third-party enforcement group really deny that payment because the money is attached as far bigger and comparable endorsed deals? It's an interesting question, one that will undoubtedly face legal scrutiny. One more paragraph. Hey, Moen, how are you? I don't know if you can hear me, but he did join. But if college administrators want to live in a world that is different from the one they were living in over the past 4 years of sham booster deals being disguised as NIL, they have no choice but to go to the wall in protecting the authority they believe they gained through the settlement process. By the way, everybody knows I have a lot of friends that are legal analysts, right? And they say that the House settlement is just that. It is not anything to base law off of. It's a settlement against services that one party sued somebody else. It's like me suing my neighbor across the street. If I win something, I get something, whatever I'm suing for. If I win, I get it, but it doesn't have anything to do with breaking laws, right? That's what this is. And them to act like they're now the police, I think that's a big deal. It's a lot bigger deal than people ever gave it time, which always frustrated me because I've always thought this was the hidden story nobody wanted to cover because it's not really sexy. Right? Everybody wants to talk about the flash stories. This one is the one that I think is probably going to carry the day for a very long time. I'll keep reading here. And that authority includes the CSC's ability to deny deals that don't meet the standard of valid business purpose. And that's the new term. Valid business purpose. What's fair market value? College Sports Commission. These are all new acronyms. Nobody knew 2 weeks ago. Everybody needs to put in their lexicon because this is where we're at now. This is where we're at now. Valid business purpose. Any law they're negotiating in Congress. Let's do a side trip into legalese a little bit here. Any law that's passed in Congress has the force of law behind it. So if something's made illegal, right? You can go to jail. There are penalties if you break a law. Not a lot of penalties on the enforcement side if you break a rule, right? Nobody's going to jail for recruiting violations. You break in a rule, it's an NCAA rule, and the NCAA your school is part of, they're enforcing a rule that's not against the law. And that's how they act. They act like all this is law, and it's not. It's a civil ruling that hasn't been codified yet. That's why people use the word codified. Nobody knew what codified did before. I did because of a different reason, but most people didn't know what codified meant. What they're talking about is trying to take the House settlement and turn it into legislation. And how's that going? It's not going anywhere. The SCORE Act, forget about it. That's all for headlines. People trying to put their name in the papers because they can't talk about other things that are going on in the country they don't know anything about. This is something they're trying to hold on to. The SCORE Act has no chance to get through all of Congress. None. Yeah, should I do that now? Give me a second and see. I'm going to leave that up there for just a second and see if I can find. I might not have bookmarked it. The latest thing on, oh, here we go. The executive order, is this it? Yes, here we go. So let's take a side trip to the executive order that's been. This was Mitt Winter, by the way. I will post the link. He summarized somebody else's article. I honestly don't know who that is. So I don't know who he's paraphrasing here. This came from a different report. If I find it, I will post it. I want you guys to have it. But there's the link to Mitt Winter as a friend that is now covering this story. Everybody knows what a presidential executive order is, right? Everybody can remember I Am Just a Bill. Do they even do those cartoons anymore? I don't think so. Schoolhouse Rock. The only thing that the executive branch does is national defense, protect the borders, some fiscal policy stuff, but they don't enact any laws. Trump cannot, by fiat, create a law. He's tried, and almost every one of them's been struck down. So anything he tries, I'm sure, will be sued one way or the other. But that's not what the purpose of the executive branch is. It's not to take sidelines and do stuff like college NIL coverage. I mean, it's just ridiculous to think that the president would spend his time on something like this. But let's read what he's actually doing, shall we? A draft of the long-discussed presidential executive order intends to preserve college athletics like it needs saving by him from unprecedented threat and destruction. It says by implementing new policies related to athlete compensation, antitrust protection, athlete employment, state law uniformity, and Olympic sport participation. The draft, though not believed to be the final version, this was announced 4 months ago. There is still no formal executive order that he has signed. So let's just talk about what they're proposing. The draft, though not believed to be the final version, is expected to align closely with the order that President Donald Trump has long been exploring and offers a window into his thinking. It's unclear when or even if Trump will announce an executive order, but he sure teased it a lot, hasn't he? Which for 4 months has been discussed in the public sphere. The draft was provided to Yahoo Sports, so this is a Yahoo Sports report, by 3 different congressional sources. We're not going to, it wasn't confirmed by the White House. The draft, 7 pages long, titled Saving College Sports, outlines directives from Trump. You guys tell me if any of these things really mean anything or if it's just word salad. Outlines directives from Trump to members of his cabinet to create policy, again, not a law, to create policy related to various aspects of college athletics. Those aspects primarily include directing the Attorney General and the Federal Trade Commission. So this is where he's trying to use his executive power through these 2 entities of the many that report to him. These are 2. The Federal Trade Commission reports to him. The Attorney General reports to the president. Provide college leaders with protection from antitrust law around long-term availability, long-term, it should be, is it availability? Okay. Long-term availability of scholarships and opportunities for athletes. Basically saying protect, I guess just what it says, protect scholarships and opportunities for athletes. Yeah, again, if you can define this for me, I'd love to hear it. Prevent unqualified and unscrupulous agents from representing athletes. What the hell is that about? Who's unqualified and who's unscrupulous? I mean, you guys read this, right? You're reading this at the same time I am. Are you laughing at these terms being put into this report? Are you thinking it's real? Are we in like some fantasy land? I don't know how you qualify who's unqualified or who's unscrupulous. All right, we continue. From representing athletes and support uniformity by presumably preempting the varying name, image, and likeness state laws. What he's saying there is all these states, Utah's one of them. New Jersey just passed one. Tennessee has a really big one. Florida has several. All these laws are trying to protect the athletes in state. You come here, you don't have to report your earnings. They're tax-free. You come here, play football, you pretty much keep everything that you earn. There's states all across the country that have done these laws. He's saying, here's a federal thing. I want you guys to go out and try to I don't know. Fix this. We'll keep going. The draft also requests the assistant to the president for domestic policy work. I don't know who that is. With the U.S. Olympic team to provide safeguards for NCAA Olympic sports. Okay, so what would that be? You're going to command BYU must carry field hockey, they must carry track and field events, and they must carry swim. Everybody has to have those programs. If you don't have those programs, in some way they're going to penalize you. Does any of that seem reasonable to you guys? I know most of you pretty personal at this point. You guys know I look through this stuff and it either bears repeating and really getting into and building on, or it's just nonsense. And I'm going to tell you right now, this Olympic sports thing, everybody wants to protect Olympic sports. Nobody wants to pay for Olympic sports. I like Olympic sports. I watch the Olympics. In Europe, they watch the Olympics. In Europe, soccer is the number one sport. This is America. Last time I checked. And we don't. Those things are not important. We want to see our guys jump through the roof and throw down a hammer jam. We want to see people hit each other with hockey sticks. We want to see people bash their brains out, gladiator style on the football field. We do not care about Olympic sports in America. No presidential directive is going to force people to care about Olympic sports. So unless the federal government is going to write a check to these schools to each have some of these programs, I have no idea what that could even look like. Again, this is all supposed to be coming from an executive order. It is no exaggeration to say that America's system of collegiate athletics, I don't know who they're quoting. I apologize. Let's see here. Let me read the second part of this. And directs the Secretary of Education and National Labor Relations Board, they're pretty powerful, to implement policy clarifying the status of athletes, presumably as students, not as employees. Yeah, that's important to protect him and his cronies. Anyway, it is no exaggeration to say that America's system of collegiate athletics plays an integral role in forging the leaders that drive our nation's success. Okay. Yeah, the future of college sports is under unprecedented threat. Court rulings have eliminated limits on athlete compensation, recruiting, and okay, we know all that. While some of these changes are long overdue, the order says the inability to maintain rules will destroy what Americans recognize today as college sport. Trump wants to not only save Israel, save Ukraine, save the American economy. Now he also wants to be the guy who saved college sports. That's all this is. It's a PR stunt. This entire thing is a PR stunt. They are long overdue. But why are they long overdue? They're long overdue because the NCAA ran this into the ground. And now they're looking for cover. They're looking for somebody to save them. I don't understand why everybody isn't upset about this as much as I am. This to me it shows you where the corruption is in the system. It's right here in black and white. None of this means anything. None of it. It's policy of my administration so this is Trump, that college sports should be preserved. Yay. One last slider here. The order says that the House settlement provides little assurance in preserving the sport and expects it to be upended soon by new litigation over increased compensation or fewer rules. The order describes the potential athlete-employee model as making the industry financially untenable. So that's what he's doing. This whole thing is basically saying, if you don't trust me to fix it, if you do not empower me and my minions to fix college sports, it's going to fall off a cliff and it's just going to crash and burn and die. I don't believe that at all. I think it will change. I think private equity might come in and buy all of college football. That is still a possibility for the right amount of money. Things can change, but this gloom and doom crap that makes people fearful, and so they vote through their fear and who they support. They fear being fearful. Everything about their lives is don't hurt me. we have our savior right here saying, I will save college sports for you. Oh, yeah, never mind. We will call it the Trump College Football Reconstruction NIL will save the world plan. I named it today. I've made it real easy. They can rip it right off my YouTube channel and go in and create that show for themselves. It's absolutely ludicrous. Let's read the rest of this nonsense. Steve Berman, one of the co-lead plaintiff attorneys, again made $400 million in the House settlement, released a statement on Yahoo calling a potential executive order as unwarranted and describing it as flouting the president's own philosophy on supposed art of the deal. That's kind of funny. He's throwing his words back in his face. This last paragraph, this is just the cherry on top. Plain and simple, college athletes don't need Trump's help. And he shouldn't be aiding the NCAA at the expense of athletes, Berman said. Let's see. Step back, Mr. President. These fabulous athletes don't need your help. Let them make their own deals. And the Supreme Court, with your appointee, Justice Kavanaugh, condemned the NCAA's compensation rules as a violation of the antitrust laws. Why give them immunity, Mr. President, in light of that ruling? Okay? So I've gone through that. Let me finish with this article, and then my hour will be up, and then we will do calls. Let me get back here. I have to activate this other tab. Here we go. So here's the crux of the issue. The CSC has defined valid business purpose as evidence of using student athletes NIL to promote a good or service being offered to the public for profit, while also staking a position that an entity with a business purpose of providing payments or benefits to student athletes or institutions, rather than providing goods or services to the general public for profit, does not satisfy the valid business purpose requirement. This is the rule that they're falling back on that was the primary premise to sending out the order last week, saying we're not going to just take NIL deals just to take NIL deals. That's where the justification comes down to, is this one rule and their individual interpretation of what this rule actually means. When I read that, I could shoot holes in every one of their premi. I could make my own premi for each one of these points, saying I think this is a product, I think this is a service, and this is, I think, something that you could pay a kid to do. I think these rules are nonsense, and they were always going to be nonsense. The fact that people are just waking up to it now, I don't know. I was upset about it when it was announced. In other words, if a collective is being used as a third-party marketing agency, and this is crap, by the way, third-party marketing agency to facilitate endorsement deals, that's allowable. But the CSC says collectives that exist to move money from boosters to athletes so that schools can circumvent the revenue sharing cap will have their deals denied regardless of the amount involved or what the athlete is required to do for the money. So they're okay if it's third-party marketing agency to facilitate endorsement deals, that's allowable. But they're going to turn it around and say if it's just there to sort of take money from Jim to give to Jim, that has no business purpose. And I know for a fact people are making money on that transaction. It is making money out in the world. They might not know about it, but I do know of at least 2 collectives that are taking money from boosters and they're using it through subscriptions. They're providing services and support, and they are providing benefits to players that completely takes this sort of caveat and throws it out the window. So to me, every one of these things I think you could justify. In other words, the CSC, which again is implementing the will of the power conferences who approved the settlement, is saying that collectives can't operate the way they've been operating. I don't think anybody's asking them to do that, by the way. And that makes perfect sense if the goal was to truly rein in NIL and stop the flow of booster money. And then we will wrap up. But Kessler, according to a person familiar with his thinking, who spoke on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to do so, was surprised the CSC took that position, and believes the language in the agreement is targeted at the transaction itself, not the organization. And I think this is great. I'm surprised that he's surprised. Because why else would schools have settled with him in the first place? What we have here essentially are high-priced lawyers on two different sides who spent months coming to an agreement and now disagree on how arguably the most important issue in the agreement was worded. And now they're negotiating about the negotiation. I added that again to see if they needed to go to court to resolve the dispute. I'm going to add that to the stage again. I'm going to do this so that it's off. And I will do that. So what do we think, everybody? I know that was a long dissertation. I didn't force you to be here. So if you're still watching, and there's almost 200 of you doing it, I appreciate everybody being here and going through this. All this stuff was reported on X. I do try to find news and notes and get stuff to you guys as soon as I get it. And I think this is a really important deal that we should be talking about. But do you guys care? At the end of this, I'm up in arms about it because I've been passionate about this since I got into this 3.5, 4 years ago now. This is what I care about how college sports work. And I'm passionate about it. You all know I'm passionate about it. I get it. I get excited. I get frustrated with stupid things people say and do. But that's me. Do you guys care at all? That's my open question to you tonight. Do you guys care at all? Now I'm gonna turn on the phones, and I'm gonna invite everybody to call in. And in the meantime, if you've been around here, you know this is how I do this. Let me send a note on Twitter. Give me 1 second. Join us now live for our call in Q&A. Let's talk college football news and notes. Nah. Is Trump supposed to be in college football? How about that as a headline? I don't do a lot of teases. We will do that right now. Okay, everybody, I appreciate you being with me. Roughly 45 minutes, my diatribe. I hope you got some information out of that you can use. Filter through what you do every day. That's what we try to do around here. A lot of editorializing, a lot of opinion, but a lot of the opinion is based on interpretation of actual facts and then talking to people. And everybody knows the consigliere group that I have built. These lawyers and agents and business people that are in that group, they know what they're doing when it comes to this stuff. And when they tell me this is a bunch of just nothing, smoke and mirrors, a diversion, other ways to, it tells me that nobody's really doing the work of the people. And that's why I started the channel, was to be that advocate, to represent the everyman out there, right? You guys, I try to do that for you. When I'm going and looking news and notes, I'm trying to say, hey, what would Daniel Dilly think about this note? And I'll take note of it, and I'll try to bring it up, or I'll comment on X. That's what we do around here. And so I hope that we can take this information now and talk about it tonight, and then you guys can sort of add it to what you already know and believe and want to support. And I hope that you enjoy doing that. So what I will do is I will open up the phone lines, and then as I'm waiting for calls, as I always do, I'll work backwards. I do defer to all member comments, just so you know. If you're not a new member, become a new member of the College Football Mafia family. On the main page of the College Football Mafia on YouTube, just hit the join button, become a new member. I'd love to have you as a new member. I defer to those comments first. And then I'll read other comments as they pop up that catch my attention. And I read all super chats. And believe me, the money that you donate to us Doesn't go to my Maserati in my garage. We use that to keep the lights on and to add additional services and support like Moen has put together on the back end. So we appreciate those. Obviously, I'm not going to beat that thing like a dead horse, but just want everybody to know those things really come in handy around here. All right. Okay, so let me open this up. All right, I've opened up the phone calls, and it's hidden, so nobody's going to see the numbers. I would encourage you to call in right now. The phone number is at the bottom of the page on the reader. It's 801 899 6203. That's my Google voice. Join and let's talk. Okay. Let's talk. And I really want to hear your opinions because I'm not just here for my opinion. I'm actually here for your opinions. That's what I care about. All right. We will work backwards. And just say hi to some people at the same time. BYU football, Shonsky's in the house, valuable member, OG member at this point of the College Football Mafia family. He says, that used to be one of my favorite days, signing day. I remember waiting for the fax to come through on signing day. Yeah, we haven't had that in a while, have we? All right, we've got somebody calling in here. Give me a second.
Call from
Hayden the Diesel Freak.
Hayden, oh, there we go. Caden the Diesel Freak, can you hear me?
Hey, what's going on, my good man? How are you? It's your favorite Ohio State fan, Hayden the Diesel Freak. Yes, the most hated OSU fan on the planet. How's my favorite BYU fan?
Hey, I'm holding down the fort. That's all I can say. I'm doing what I can. I appreciate you calling in. I love your name, by the way. That's fantastic.
Well, you should have known me from the Big 12 show that I came on, and I told y'all that BYU was going to make the playoffs. You should remember that.
You do. And you were one of the few that were actually providing that support, and it was difficult. It was difficult because there weren't a lot of us that were in that area. So we got robbed last year. I'm the first one to say it. So anyway, what's going on tonight? What are you thinking about?
Well, I'm thinking about the Big 12 because the Big 12 is a conference that has competition for, my reign defending undisputed national champions, non-national champion Ohio State Buckeyes.
Right.
And I got to be looking about who's the next one to line up against Ohio State in the national championship in the playoffs. Because, let's be honest, BYU is one of them, along with Iowa State and, WVU in the next year and, Kansas State. BYU is the dark horse, the Big 12 with Iowa State. They will come at you with hitting hard with no excuses. And I give BYU credit, and you should know that, man.
I do. I do know that, and I appreciate it.
And Clint Foster may not allow me on the show anymore, but I try to tell Clint, like, honestly, truth be told, you and Levi Stevenson and Iowa State and Kansas State crowd with
I do.
What's the guy's name with Wildcat 191.9? John Grove.
Right, John Grove. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I said on that show, I said, truth be told, you guys are one of the contenders in the national championship in the next year because, what you guys did last year was unbelievable. Okay, Arizona State came out underneath and, came out of nowhere. Give them credit, but still, BYU's one hell of a unit. They got a good defense. They got a great offense. I don't see any flaws with that team, especially in their schedule. You guys play Iowa State.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, it's the two most physical teams in the Big 12 that are going to go head-to-head, nose-to-nose, eye-to-eye, man-to-man. I have a lot more respect for the Big 12 than I do for Michigan, Clemson, and Alabama. Let me just say this. You guys make it to the playoffs, I guarantee y'all will beat Alabama and Clemson by at least 20 points, at least 30.
What? Okay. Wow, that's awesome. I love to hear that.
They say, well, listen here. As they say, defense wins championships. BYU defense almost won a Big 12 championship, and Iowa State's defense was playing out of their mind.
Yeah, that Kansas game will live in infamy, unfortunately.
Listen, the Kansas game was just a setback.
Yeah.
That was just letting you guys know, like, hey, you guys got something to get a little bit extra in, like increasing your guys' A game. Don't look at it as like it was a big loss. Right. It was just to help your team out get better. BYU is a team that will come back out of nowhere, and I'm in the world of the Big 12, and I'm going to say this as an honest Ohio State fan. Yes, you heard that right, folks, an Ohio State fan.
Well,
I'm being completely honest. Like,
I really appreciate your support, and I do remember the diesel thing stood out, so I apologize that I did wasn't able to recall that at the time, but I do remember last year, and there weren't maybe 5 people that was talking up BYU, because the season before had been down, but to come back and in 2 years be where we're at, and honestly, we're just a little more than normal um, quarterback play, and we will challenge again for the Big 12. So you're right there.
but I always forget your name. What is it again? I always forget.
My name's Nathan.
Nathan.
Yeah,
Big bomb, the BYU bomber.
there you
Well,
go.
I'm gonna tell you this, Nathan. As someone who is a fan of the 9-time undisputed national champions, who everybody's been saying like our team is unstoppable, unbeatable, we're the
Right.
inevitable. Like we are not the inevitable. Like we're not the team that will live without getting a loss handed to us, and a loss that's going to guarantee get down handed to us is courtesy of either Georgia. I said this literally without no problem. Anyone, the following teams could beat us out of nowhere in the playoffs. And I stated, first of all, it was BYU, Iowa State, Kansas State, and Georgia. Because let's be honest, BYU is a team that will come out of nowhere and play out of their mind. And that's what I like about them, is that they can play they can play that much ball without even having to take a sweat. That's what I like about that. That's what I like about BYU, and the head coach is doing an amazing job. I can't remember the coach's name because it's been a while. And I talked to you,
Kalani Sataki.
Coach Kalani and Matt Campbell at Iowa State. I mean, they're doing an absolute phenomenal job there, and especially Arizona State. Give them credit as always. I've always wanted to play Arizona State national championship, but truth be told, Nathan, from an Ohio State fan to a BYU fan, I guarantee BYU's coming back to the playoffs, winning the Big 12, and upsetting somebody. And I guarantee it's going to be either Alabama, Notre Dame, or Clemson, or even, what the hell are they called? What's that one team I really hate? Oh, not Michigan. That's for damn sure. Michigan ain't gonna be there. Or Penn State. I know you got some Penn State fans in the comments, but I'm just being brutally honest.
Okay. Well, Caden, hey, I appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much. It's great to talk to you again, and we'll do this more. Okay.
Hey Nathan, and if you need, I will say this. You can follow me and message me on Twitter. Now, if you do want to message me on Twitter, message me at Hollywood Caden. That's Hollywood Caden, the final boss. Message me on there, like my post, ask you questions, and I will be sure that you'll be the first one to get an answer from me personally on my Twitter, and that's at Hollywood Caden, the final boss.
I will look you up right after the show. Thanks, Hollywood Caden. I appreciate you.
Hey, and as always, go Bucks, and we'll see BYU in the playoffs.
I love it. Let's go. Have a great night. I'm going to clap that out. That was fantastic. Anytime I can get somebody to call in. Jeff Fuller is watching, I think, or he called me on my cell phone. I'm not sure which it is because it rings through to my cell if you call my Google Voice. Jeff, if you're watching, call me back or send me a text. You and I need to talk because we're going to do a show, or at least a recording. If it wasn't Jeff, I will text him back and let him know. Jeff Fuller, friend of the show, somebody I talk about respecting opinions. He's in that consigliere group. He's a doctor, somebody I really appreciate. On my show, what's up? There we go. So if you're watching, Jeff, I'm going to send you a text and let's connect. I appreciate that. Phone lines are open. You can call again. Now I know that Caden Diesel is the same guy, and I appreciate that. He's fun to talk to, and I do remember him and I talking last summer. There weren't a lot of people that were bumping up BYU, and it stands out to me that he was. So appreciate you, Caden. Thank you so much. 801-899-6203. I'll talk about wherever you want. If it's not this news item, if it's not the college football playoff, You tell me what we want to talk. Let's do a little Dear Abby style here. If you guys have something on your mind, I will try to address it. Let's see. Argra is this comedy hour. I love Argra is a stud. Everybody just clear the room for Argra. He's a great guy. Joe Z, another valuable member of the College Football Mafia family, saying two of them, there were two Utes. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. Argra says, just got here and immediately hear a caller thinking BYU is beating Penn State. So keep calling. I've got it open. I believe caller ID is blocked. So yeah, you should be able to reach me. So call in again. There is a problem. And if I miss your call again because it's outside of my line of vision just a little bit. So you might call and I'll miss it. But call again and I will definitely answer for you. I'm not ignoring anybody. I don't have anybody blocked or anything like that, at least not yet. Let's see here. Bob Swinger says 1-0. There we go. That's funny stuff. I did have a comment here marked earlier. Daniel Gygax, VPI can suffer in the AAC. They had to cry to the governor to get away from the annual West Virginia beating gave them. VPI, if I'm not incorrect, is Virginia Tech, right? Okay, it is. It is Virginia Tech. All right, here we go.
Call from
Daniel.
The Daniel? Who am I talking to?
Yeah, the Daniel.
How are we doing, Daniel? Good to have you.
Hey, here's where all these we're going to fix college football things or even college athletics fall apart. We're just not talking about football. We're not talking about Division I basketball. Whenever they said we're going to protect Olympic sports, how? I mean, there's only a finite amount of money at each university.
Yes.
You're not going to sit there and grab general funds to say, hey, we're going to keep women's swimming and gymnastics open.
Right.
It's going to become impractical.
Yeah.
And I hate whenever you hear something floated out of DC. Usually it, what are they called? Trial balloons, which means that it's being floated around and what is it? Social. I can't remember what it's called. But it's being floated saying, this is what we want to do. And they're going to try to see if people like it or don't like it. It's been a DC thing for probably 200 years. But what will DC do that will fix athletics? I don't think anything.
Well, Congress is the only thing that can do anything. So,
and even then, do you think Congress? I mean, yeah, you have that SCORE Act that is being floated around, but is it going to get votes? Are you going to get 60 votes in the Senate?
No, it's not going to happen.
No,
it's not going to happen. So I guess, and this is Daniel Gygax, people, if you didn't know.
Yeah,
that's the Daniel.
Hi.
It's very important for everybody to understand that's what this is about. It's about that control and who has it, who doesn't, and what they do with the power that they do currently own. Yeah, I don't know where this ends happily. I know what they tried to do. They tried to get something in the back door. They passed something in the dead of night. They were hoping the House thing and the SCORE Act would just fly through Congress. And then Israel attacked Iran. Everything changed. And it's ironic. Well, it happened at almost the exact same time, a month ago.
But even then, you don't want the NCAA to have an antitrust exemption. That'll make things worse.
I might pick it. I might pick it if it gets to a vote. I might fly to Washington D.C. and pick it. If that, I don't want that to happen. Or maybe I'll do a telethon or something. I don't know.
Even more weird is who's going to do the negotiation. I mean, players change all the time.
Yeah, I don't know. Those are great questions.
what was that? What we just need to do, just relax, just say, hey, just let all this work through. Because whenever NIL first came down, everybody thought, okay, we're in trouble. You're going to sit there and say, okay, it's been about 5 years since NIL. There's still football games. I don't care.
Yeah.
I know it's weird, but you know how I am about it. So I'll let you take other calls there, Bomber.
Well, sorry, Daniel. I just got a text from Jeff Fuller, who we've been trying to hook up. You know Jeff. We're trying
Yes,
to throw a recording together where we can talk about playoff format and a couple other things that he had an opinion about. So, but I appreciate you calling in. Thank you very much for watching tonight.
Okay, hey, no problem there, Nate.
Okay, we'll see you later. All right, Daniel, clap him out. Daniel Gygax, everyone, a valuable member of the College Football Mafia staff. Somebody who does a lot of contributions around here, and I really appreciate him and everybody else on the team. All of them. We got a bunch now, and every one of them do a bang-up job, and I really appreciate all the work they do. All right, so we're clearing the phone lines, as they say on the radio. 801-899-6203. Do they still do radio call-in shows? I don't listen to the radio. Sports talk, almost never. Do they still do sports call-in shows? I guess they do, because Paul Feinbaum does one that people call into. I know that. Anyway, doesn't matter. So call me back, 899-6203. Call now, and we'll talk. Let's see. I'm going to move this because I'm having a hard time seeing that. I apologize, everyone. This is not very professional, but I need to. There we go. Now I can see. There we go.
Call from
Our girl.
R. Gra. What's going on, brother?
How are we doing tonight?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Not too bad on my end. I'm gonna go with a white pill moment here for us, and just
please do. You have the floor.
Yeah, I mean, we could use it. We absolutely could use it. It's the idea where you have, in the White House saved college football, the sky's falling. All this. Honestly, I'm going to take I'll call it the Joel Klatt angle and say that college football is in a good spot, and it's, I think, in one of the best spots that it's ever been. That doesn't mean that there isn't room for improvement. That doesn't mean that it's not, it's not perfect.
Right.
But with that said, there's a lot of positive things in college football. The idea, for example, I know that, college realignment, there's definitely some negatives to it, but that's not to say that there isn't good things about it. With these conferences growing, for example, it's the idea that now you have more big time matchups. For example, Ohio State, Oregon, or this year Oregon, Penn State, just in the Big Ten, for example. There's more eyeballs on there. You don't have to wait to see some really good West Coast teams play at 11. When you live on the East Coast, for example. So in that regard, that's a good thing. Those are great things, I think. On top of everything else, the college football playoff system, does it have its flaws? Yeah, I think it has its flaws. But overall, I'm glad we have it. I think it's infinitely better than what we had before, which was, let's say, the BCS or whatever else, take your pick. With the idea of just, not actually having a playoff system.
Right.
That's insane. We have what at the moment there's 136.
I think that's what it is now. Yeah.
Yeah. We're currently at 136. It's asinine. It's absolutely insane to think that we couldn't or shouldn't have a playoff system now or in the past to determine who the best college, football team is.
Yep.
So the playoff was needed. And let's be honest, we have that many teams. 4 is a joke. So, you needed to expand it. So I think that we're heading in a good spot. We're heading in the right direction. Again, room for improvement. Things aren't perfect. Absolutely. I get it. But overall, I do think the sport is in a good spot. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it is. I think we're better off than we've been in a very long time. I think talent has moderated to more schools than ever before. The last time that I would think that it was anything close to like it is now was the end of the 70s and through the 80s and the early 90s, when pretty much everybody could compete for national championship every year. We know that because that was the last time we really had any open national champions. Georgia Tech, BYU, Washington got one in there. We've had other schools compete, and we're getting back to that. It's taken a long time, and unfortunately, it was on the backs of athletes that were used and then thrown away without much to show for it. And I think they're owed. So I have no problems with them making big bucks. I think that the unicorn deals could be moderated some. What's the rookie quarterback that went to Michigan? What did he make? He's making his freshman years this year's true freshman years this year's. I think he signed a $12 million deal or something. Dave Portnoy subsidized him to go to Michigan, and he's not even going to start this year. So it's not like he's going to come in and be this unicorn savior for the program, and Michigan's going to be in the CFP next year. Nobody's saying that. So I agree with you. I think we're closer to better than not. At the same time, though, there's these things that other people are trying to. What it feels like to me is people are trying to use college football like it's a piece of jewelry, and somebody wants to own it, and they want to walk around and say, "This is something I own and control." And everybody's egos are in it. Petiti's ego's in it. Sankey's ego's in it. I have no idea what Brett Yormark's methodology is. Is his whole? Is it like John Kurtz has intimated? And I need to talk to John about this. I told him I'd call him back. Is it all about he just wants destruction? He's trying to keep these two leagues apart, so there is none of this consolidation in the ninth game and the crossover games between the Power Two. Was that all this is? It's a giant psyop, and the 511 was the way to do it? That's hard for me to believe. That's like 12 steps down the ladder to get to that point, to cause that type of stress. And yet, maybe Yormark's been in charge this whole time. I don't know. That's the stuff that I don't like. The football's fine, in my opinion. I think we're okay with football.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think a lot of the stuff, the things that you're talking about, it's that drama, the off the field kind of stuff. I think that casts a shadow. It gives a bad perception. But realistically, I think the on the field product, I think, is where it needs to be, where it should be.
Yeah.
And I think it's better than it's been in years. And you sort of hit on it too. The idea of, you're sort of alluding to it a bit. The idea of parity. We don't, it's not, the field's not so top heavy now where there's an Alabama and maybe one other team.
Yeah.
There's parity within the conferences. The conferences are deeper, more teams. Good example, Indiana.
Right.
That's all you need to look at. The fact that they were able to go 11-1, they were able to go to the playoffs, and they did it essentially in a year.
Yes.
It was that quick of a turnaround. That goes to show that now all of a sudden, some of these teams, they don't have to be the cellar dweller every year.
Right.
And that helps out with a lot of fan bases. That adds more excitement to the sport. And the other thing too, that sometimes I hear, and I'm sure you've heard it plenty of times, where you have, let's say, I won't necessarily talk about an expanded playoff from here, but we'll just look at 12 because that's what we have.
Mm-hmm.
But I've heard so many times people say, well, 12 games, that sort of dilutes the regular season.
Right.
I don't think it does.
No,
I don't think it does at all.
Mm-mm.
And the reason why, a perfect example, because of me being a Penn State fan, how many years was Penn State just on the cusp of making it into a 14 playoff?
Decades.
It happened all the time.
Decades.
It happened for so many years.
Yeah.
And it was simply because, maybe they lost they lost 2 games rather than 1. And what happens is, let's say you lost that second game. Well, you know what? Now the rest of the season isn't that special. Now all of a sudden, I'm not saying the other games didn't necessarily matter, but you kind of lost a little bit of interest. You lost a little bit of excitement into the season because you're thinking to yourself, well, that's it, we're done. Well, guess what? Now that you have more room at the table, more slots for you to fill, now all of a sudden, if you lose 1 game or if you lose 2 games, you don't have to mope and complain about it. Your season's not done with. So I actually think it's the opposite. I don't think that it dilutes the season. I think it makes the regular season better because now all of a sudden you don't feel like, well, the season's wasted, it's over with, it's done, simply because you lost 1 or 2 games.
What did the NFL do? The NFL added another week to their season, and they added another round of the playoff. They got rid of the double byes. They only have 1 for the conference champion that had the best record. And the NFL's never been more popular. You add more seats at the table, more people are going to be involved for a longer amount of time. This counter argument that it needs to be back down to 4 or 8 just to sort of dilute or get rid of the dilution and just really focus on the teams that are the best. If that had happened, Ohio State wouldn't have won the national championship last year. Right. We need more champions. Believe it or not, it's the ACC needs to win another championship. The Big 12 needs to win a couple. To make college football better, everybody has to be good, and I think we're getting there. BYU's on the way. Texas Tech, BYU's been doing it for a very long time. BYU and Tech are not the same. A lot of people compare them, saying that they spend a lot of money in NIL, and that is true, but BYU's been doing it for an extended period of time, decades. Texas Tech is really just the new kid on the block. They're doing it just in the last year or 2. So more schools will become Texas Techs, which will then enable more teams to make it to the playoff, which then will enable more fan bases to be involved. I can't tell you how many Tech people now have come out of the wings and are now watching Big 12 Mafia shows. They're watching our channel. They're watching Greg's channel. They're waking up because all of a sudden everybody's saying, 1, we're talking about your school, and 2, your school is being talked about as potentially being in the playoff. That all that does is gin up interest. People will be on bated breath for every Texas Tech game this year. And it won't matter whether they make the playoff or not.
I agree with you. Now all of a sudden, that race that goes on in the Big 12, because there is so much parity, because it's so competitive, there's going to be more eyeballs on that, because it's the idea that, okay, TCU got in a few years ago. That was a fluke. Well, no, there's going to be an automatic team. Who's it going to be? And there's still an at-large the way that it's set up now. So there could be a second team. So it's the idea that people become invested into a conference other than their own. And that draws in more viewership. That draws in more excitement. And I think that the way that it's set up right now, regardless of what they do in the future, it's good for the ACC and it's good for the Big 12. And both of those conferences need that because, I think like probably most college football fans, you don't want to see those conferences really go away because you don't want to see a AFC NFC model between the Big Ten and the SEC. No. Even me being in Big Ten country, I don't want that. I like the way that the Big 12 is. It's part of college football. I love that. And then sort of, I guess the other thing that I was going to bring up, I gave you this white pill. Hey, everything's wonderful. Everything's great. And then I guess I have to top it off with just the smallest black pill.
Okay, please do.
What happens, because expansion and whatever else with all of these conferences, what happens to the conference that so many of us in Big Ten country love, none other than the MAC with MACtion? If, say, Ohio were to leave, what are your thoughts of, do they get picked apart? Do they go the way of the dinosaur, or are they able to bounce back? I mean, I could see them maybe trying to pick up a potential FCS team that could maybe make the jump, like, let's say, Youngstown State, or maybe it would be smart for them to maybe try to look to get into Pennsylvania, and maybe they pick up like a Robert Morris potentially if they're willing to make the move. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Do you know how much they make in their media? Are they getting like $2-3 million right now for Maction?
I
One and a
couldn't
half,
tell
two,
you.
something like that.
I couldn't tell you what it
Okay.
is, but I'm sure it's not enough because who doesn't like Maction? Come
Well,
on,
and football drives the bus. We know this, right?
it
Unless you're
does.
the Big East basketball, which is sort of the outlier at this point for basketball leagues, you have to have football to survive. So it will and you know this because you've been around a long time. We're just gonna have more consolidation. We're not getting less, but you're gonna have more. It's subtraction by addition. What am I trying to say? I'm not saying it well. The competition is going to peak, and there's going to be a tip of the spear type of schools that are always going to be there every year, and then it's going to sort of filter down through all the different conferences. Realignment will continue to do that. I do believe the Maction thing will continue to work, but once you lose that Ohio State core, I think it changes. I really do. I know Moen's really anxious about it, whether he wants to admit it or not, because people in your neck of the woods love that stuff up there. And I
Yeah,
just don't know the reason NIU came to the Mountain West wasn't because they want to play Mountain West football. It was so that they could enhance their brand. They don't want to be in the Mountain West. They want to be invited to a larger AAC. They want to be invited to backfill when schools eventually move to the ACC. These type of things. That's what the purpose of that move is. It's not just to keep the Mountain West alive. The same thing goes with the Pac-12 and the Mountain West. They're fighting, but really they're more peers than they're more similar than dissimilar, unfortunately. And because of that, they're going to continue to have this infighting that isn't going to go away. So what's going to happen with Maction? I don't know. I would I'm worried because they had an advertising gimmick. It's like the Pac-12 After Dark, right? It lived
right,
for a period of time. People look at it now and they kind of laugh. It's not a brand, in my opinion, they should try to resurrect because it became something that people make fun of. Nobody watched it because it was on the West Coast. Everybody's in bed by the time they were playing games. So what's the purpose of the branding then? That's kind of how Maction is. The difference is Maction's in the East Coast. So people would tune into that and maybe just have it running on in the background when they were cleaning their guns in their garage or something. People watch that
right,
football. I don't think people are just going to turn it off just because the state of Ohio core disappears.
right. And I don't know, what the media rights deal looks like for them. I do know that they get a fairly good chunk of change with the amount of teams that they play in the Big Ten every year.
Right, right.
Penn
That subsidizes
Penn
their
State,
programs.
Michigan,
Yeah,
Ohio State, yeah, they're playing two, like two a year, usually anyway. Like last year, Penn State, they played Bowling Green. A lot of times they'll play Akron or they'll play Kent State. I know like Michigan and Ohio State as well. They'll play the directional schools in Michigan. So there's a lot of subsidies going around from the Big Ten, so that certainly helps them out. I just
right.
don't know what it looks like, again with Match and what kind of money does that make, and hopefully if they lose a team that has been doing very well in Ohio,
Right.
all of a sudden that doesn't sort of overturn the apple cart, so to speak.
I certainly hope it doesn't. I copied, and you can look at this. I posted this link. This came out on X the other day. I think it was just yesterday, in fact. And it actually has all the conference payouts for college sports. And it looks like I'm looking, it's very small here on my screen. The MAC is making, I can't quite read that. I'm sorry. But if everybody looks at that, it does list the different conferences, all like 10 or 11 of the conferences plus Notre Dame. Anything that's publicly available is on that list. That'll tell you how survivable any conference is if they start losing schools, because there are going to be there are possibilities if a conference loses a school, unless they negotiate to keep the value that the school originally brought, their media deal could go down, i.e., what we all kind of thought maybe could happen with the ACC once Clemson and Florida State leave. Unless it's negotiated, ESPN can go in there and say, well, you lost your top 2 brands. Look, we're going to cut your rate by 20%, 30%. That could happen in any one of these conferences. So anyway, that's kind of where.
Yeah, I listen. Just wonder your thoughts on that, and then, like I said, I just thought, it's good to have that white pill once in a while.
I appreciate it's a palate cleanser. I appreciate it.
It is.
I get a little energetic, so I appreciate you coming in and adding some calm to the show, Gargraw. Thank you very much.
All right, not a problem.
Okay, we'll see you later. Have a great night.
You too.
Oh my goodness. How awesome is that? And where's my hang up? He hung up, so he made it easy. Thank you so much, Argraw. I'm going to clap you out. Very good. You did a fantastic job. I appreciate you joining the show. Bring up some really good points. A lot of the points he agreed with me, which always makes me feel good. But I just think I'm tapping into more common threads. This isn't stuff I've invented, most of it. My Super League I came up with. So if anybody says Supra, it came from me. Anyway, thank you, Argraw, for joining the show. I really, really appreciate it. I'm going to keep going. As long as you guys keep calling, I will keep the show going. Again, one last time, read all Super Chats. If your comments in there, you don't want to call in, you want to get it on here, make it a Super Chat, I will absolutely read it 100%. So I read all Super Chats, and then I defer to member comments if we get to a point where I'm just going through comments. But this is a lot of fun. I really enjoy this. A lot more than people think. I enjoy it. It might seem like work to you. This is stuff I've wanted to do my whole life. So if I could do this for a living, I absolutely would. Devil Frog, the OG of OGs when it comes to Mafia. Good to see you, Devil Frog. Thanks so much for checking in tonight. How's your Twitter account doing? You gonna keep sending me LinkedIn messages? Something happened with his Twitter account. I don't know. Needs to get that back. Utah to the FCS confirmed. And never shy of hitting at the Utes. Big 12 fans. He's a TCU guy, just so everybody knows. BYU football at Shonsky saying realignment is so retarded. I don't use that word. I use it in comments. I sort of let my eyes get ahead of that. I don't normally say that word anymore. I used to say it all the time. I no longer do. I'm reformed. Yeah, I don't know what that means. John Dry says, well, let's see, I'm going to work backwards. So some of these things I'm going to get backwards. The Big Lubbock says, I heard that Utah is the #1 candidate on Conference USA list to replace Louisiana Tech. Utah, you did it to yourselves. Daniel says Maction is a little over $1 million a year. There we go. So I think that Argraw will lead to a lot of the answers you were looking for about that conference and why schools might leave. $1 million isn't a lot of money. They'll make $1 million to play Ohio State for a beatdown, for instance. You know that already. Play Penn State. They're going to get that payout. That's how they subsidize the rest of their sports. So that's why schools are leaving. That and brand recognition. They want to bring up their brand recognition. I know for a fact NIU is not thinking their final destination is the Mountain West. I promise you it's not that. Stephen Vitt, if the MAC stays quiet and doesn't make any moves by 2027, Ohio should consider any and all backup plans. Stephen, you are right. Stephen represents the Ohio Bobcats, becomes sort of a fun mascot around here. I appreciate Stephen and his Ohio Bobcats trying to survive in this really troubling time that is college sports. John Dry, Kent State and Middle Tennessee State should go to the Sun Belt. Sun Belt's making moves, man. Sun Belt's making moves. They're impressing people with the stuff they're doing. That's all I can say. I love watching the SEC and podcast hating on Texas Tech, especially OU, Texas A&M, and Arkansas. Yeah, why is that, John Dry? You love watching them, but what's the reason they're complaining? They've had those advantages for decades over Texas Tech. Now all of a sudden, Texas Tech has a little advantage, and they're all bitching and moaning like Texas Tech invented evil ways or something. It's ridiculous. Let me get the number out there again to everybody while you're watching. It's 801. Call in. I'll take your calls. 801 899. I will get 6203. I almost had it that time. 801 899 6203. Call in and let's talk about what you want to talk about. Shonsky says bomber. Texas Tech was a bomb with Leach. They were fun. Look, Leach was never going to win a national championship. I don't care where he went. He was a cult hero. He was the pirate. He was from BYU. There's a lot of fan bases that loved him. I don't think he was ever going to win a national championship wherever he went. Just by the way he did things. I did not see. I saw him getting into tournaments. I did not see him winning anything though. Lee checking in, another member of the College Football Mafia family, saying Missouri coach Eli hit the nail. Yeah, what is his name? Eli. Yeah, hit the nail on the head today. Now everyone will start to change their minds. Lee, are you a fan of Missouri? I correct me where you come from, just so I have an understanding of what you're. Are you being sarcastic? Because he came out, the coach of Missouri came out and said he wants a 30 team playoff. 30 team playoff. Who's even talking about that? That's not even all of the SEC and the Big Ten. And yet, of course, Missouri's in that list, right? Missouri's in there, maybe not Michigan State. I don't know. I didn't look at his list. It's a ridiculous idea. 30 teams is not near enough. It needs to be close to double that. Lee is a Penn State fan, so I'm going to say he was making fun of Missouri at that point. Yeah, Eli Drinkwitz is the coach. I came up with that on my own. I don't know if anybody put it in there, but I just did remember. Eli Drinkwitz is the coach at Missouri, and he came out with a genius idea that he invented. He wanted everybody to know he came up with it himself. 30-team college football playoff. Good job, Eli. 801-899-6203. Join me and help me not talk as much. Let's see here. I'm going to get to some starred comments from earlier. Joe Z says, man, I didn't even listen to radio. I don't even listen to radio now. I just do podcasts or college football shows on YouTube on my iPhone or on phone while commuting. Joe, I appreciate you, brother. You're an OG around here. Joe Z is one of the men. This guy knows what he's talking about. Very informed, stays on top of stuff. And I appreciate him being around with us. Thank you so much, Joe. Daniel earlier said in the official name of the school is the Virginia Polytechnic Institute. So this is Virginia Tech. And State University, Blacksburg. Heck, they still use the initials VPI in their Vite song. Okay. I've heard VPI. I thought it was Virginia Tech. I just was confirming. John Dry earlier, NIL makes Texas Tech as competitive in all men's and women's sports with P2. No doubt about it. I think realignment needs to disappear. Maybe for any leagues that aren't in the power leagues, realignment needs to disappear, and we just need to be talking about a separate division just for football. It cures all ills. You don't have to worry about realignment anymore. You can regionalize games. It's Super League is the way to go, people. I'm going to convert you, I promise. Sergeant Morehue, good to have you here. You've been around recently. I appreciate you. By the way, if you're new to the channel, there's about 150 people watching me live right now. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. If you're on X watching, do me a favor and just open up a separate window on your phone. Go to my YouTube page and just hit subscribe. Do me a favor. Do me a solid, as they say in the mafia. Help us out. Trying to get to 5,000 subs. We're getting close. We're not quite to 200 to go yet. We're somewhere between 300 and 200, but we're getting there. And we'll get there with all you people watching right now. Subscribe, go over. We should go up 50 subs tonight. I would love that. I don't think we will, but it would be great if we did. So jump over to the show and hit subscribe if you're watching on X. If you're on X and you already aren't subscribing, I don't know what the hell you're doing. Hit the button. The subscribe button, and then turn on your notifications on YouTube and on Twitter. That way you know when we are going to do things. Sergeant Muhu says, I don't think NIL should be eliminated, but it does need a limit. Call it max 500,000 a year. Look, I'm all for setting limits. I'm all for it. But let's do it in the way it's supposed to be done, with the players in the room. And if not the existing players who transfer out every year, they graduate, they go to real lives, Come up with an organization that can represent their interests at the very least. Something that will help get them money today, but maybe get them money tomorrow and the next day. Maybe 500,000, maybe the total value is 3 million, but it's paid out over 4 years, and if you stay all 4 years, you get a bonus on top of that. I'm talking there are millions of good ideas out there to make this work, appeal to the players. But everybody just wants to shoot it down, just say it's a stupid idea. Or they'll say the opposite. They say it's a foregone conclusion, it has to happen, but they won't supply any details of how to get it done. I don't like those people either. There needs to be work to get there. My phone, I can give you my phone number if you want to involve me in that, by the way. I've got good ideas. Good to see you, Sergeant Morhew. I appreciate you being here tonight. Let's see here. Big Lubbock. Texas Tech is undefeated all time against Utah in football. I think they've only, played once or twice? I don't know how many times they've played, but yeah, that's an old joke. Bob Swanger says no Super League. Call in now, 801-899-6203. I'd love to talk to you. If you're calling in and I'm just simply not answering or the phone's not ringing through because I'm looking right at it, let me know and I'll see if I can fix it because it could break too. That is possible. No Super League, Bob Swanger says. I don't want a Super League. I want a separate division for football league, which I'm calling a Supra League, which will get as many of the best football brands that are as close to being peers as possible on the same playing surface. Which is, I think, everybody that's what they want. John Dry, FCS already have their own playoffs. They don't need to play an FBS school. Well, they do for the money, though, John. They do for the money. They need the money. They need the money. They need the money. That's why they do those games. They don't set those games up because they want to get beat down by Alabama. Morehead State does not play Georgia or Alabama every year because they think they're going to beat Georgia or Alabama. They're doing it to get paid, to subsidize their football program for the year. That's why they take those games. And it gets them, a little bit on TV and stuff. But anyway, Bob Swinger says, I don't want anything, Bomber. Okay, that's cool, Bob. I respect you. Otto Raider, good to see you, Otto. It's been a minute. I appreciate you. I love tech, love what everything tech's doing. I'm cheering for tech, and yeah, I appreciate the effort your school's putting in to be successful. That's what the world's built on, is merit. Around here, we still believe in meritocracy. So, Otto saying hi. Make sure, Otto, I think you're subbed. I think I've talked to you about that before. Make sure you sub. Make sure you turn on your notifications. Follow us on Twitter and stuff. But it's great to see you again. I appreciate you being here. Daniel says we need about 250 people to get to 5,000 subs. Look, I set this at the beginning of the summer. I set the goal as 5,000. People, don't let me down. If you're watching on X, do me a favor. Go over to YouTube, College Football Mafia. I know you can do this on your phones. I do it all the time, multitask, and hit subscribe. Okay? It's free. I'm not asking you to give me any of your money. That'd be great if you did, but just subscribe, brother. I really need, and sisters, I need brothers and sisters subscribe. Let's see. Bob Swinger says, Argraw not in my deal. I'm not sure what Argraw said. Said, Bob, call in. We need more Penn State representation. I love talking. Look, I am a college football fan, and I grew up in the 70s and 80s. So I'm a Golden Point in history football fan. So that means I love pretty much every college football brand out there. At one time or another, I have cheered for you. Unless you're Utah or Oregon. I even have cheered for Oregon State at times. I've never claimed to be, a cheering fan or rooting fan of Oregon State. I am a rooting fan of their operations and their survival. But maybe a couple times I've cheered for Oregon State, usually when they play against Utah. played against Utah. I cannot cheer for Oregon in any world. I will not cheer for Oregon. But I was a Miami fan. I was a Penn State fan. I independent football. If you want to go out and play other teams, you're willing to play other teams and leave your home stadium like these brands used to do because they were independents. You got my respect. I love Nebraska. I love Oklahoma. I like Texas. I don't love Texas, but I like Texas. Texas Tech. Again, I can be fans of all those things without losing a sweat because I came from a different part of the country. So anyway, I love Penn State fans, and I love when everybody calls in. Let's see here. John Dry says based. I'm not sure what he's talking about. Jack Matheson, Oregon is the devil. Yep, I agree with you, Jack. Make sure you subscribe, Jack. Appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you so much. All you guys being here, I love you so much for giving me a little of your time tonight. Big Lubbock says the judge still wants to know what's a Ute. Man, they're hitting Utah. I'm not even hitting Utah tonight. It's you guys hitting Utah. And by the way, it's not just Big 12 fans hitting Utah either. So get off my back. It is not me. I like that Texas Tech went through the NFL on their transfers potential to be drafted. They have 3 to 4 legit first rounders. I think the number was 12 or 13. The teams that have won the national championship recently have all, is it 14? The next NFL draft have all had at least 14 players drafted in rounds 1 to 7. That's been one of the measurements. There hasn't been anybody that's won the tournament, the college football playoff, for the last, I don't know, decade or so. Somebody's going to prove me wrong. I read an article that said it hadn't been done, or that's kind of the measuring stick. You have to, I think it's between 12 to 14 players have to get drafted in the next draft to show that was a team that was ready to win a national championship. Crazy numbers. So for Texas Tech to even have 4 drafted is a good thing. To have 4 drafted in the first round, that's crazy talk. That would be awesome. I'd cheer for Texas Tech to do that. That would be hard to do, I think. Josie goes to paying StreamYard for their wonderful services. Yep, and StreamYard is getting more and more expensive. At some point, we might have to replace StreamYard because it's getting so expensive. But John Dry again, especially if Texas Tech stays healthy, 3 deep in every position. At Texas Tech has every opportunity to win this year. There is no doubt about it. C. John, good to see you, C. John. Says Boomer, and I'm not Boomer. Gosh, geez, it's Bomber. Do you still prefer the 4-4-2-2 16 or 5-11 12? I hate 5-11. I cannot. I know everybody's, I've considered other things. I considered some stuff starting last week about, going into negotiations and saying, well, if you're this, we can give them twice the money. I appreciate all those things. I still just, I'm telling you right now, everybody, the Big 12 is going to get screwed. I know, C. John, I'm teasing you. I don't understand. I just don't understand not wanting to get more teams into the playoff. What are we talking about? I mean, here, are we talking about the playoff? Or are we talking about money? Are we talking about, if it's just respect, if it's perception? I'm sorry, guys, that ship has sailed. And I will even say this: say a media deal comes in and everybody makes the same money. Do you think anybody's still going to think the Big 12 and the SEC are the same level? I'm almost 55 years old, and I can tell you right now, I wouldn't. I'd say on any given Saturday we could compete. Anybody can beat anybody. And I think that teams in these conferences that can win. But no, I do not think they are the same as the SEC. I don't believe it. I don't believe the ACC can be the SEC. I don't even believe the Big Ten can be the SEC. The SEC is the SEC. And there's 8, 9 programs in the Big 12, in the Big 10 that maybe 10. Wisconsin needs to be on that list. Wisconsin's always they have a long enough history to have them be listed in that list of best teams in the Big 10. But it's just not. It takes decades, people, for perceptions like that to change. I need somebody to prove it to me. I haven't seen any proof. The only argument that I see that has any validity, and maybe Jeff wants to talk about this, any validity is the causing the fight argument. If that's the reason that Yormark did this, if he was thinking he was playing 6D chess, at some point it'll be 10D chess, everybody uses it, to get the Big Ten and the SEC to fight so they don't collaborate to create this sort of super league concept with the crossover game, then that, Brett Yormark, great. I cheer you on. You did a great job. You accomplished your task. It worked. You were 100% there. If this is all about the perception thing, I think it's a losing argument. And if it's all about getting teams in the playoff, I think it's absolutely asinine to think that the Big 12 will every year get 2 teams in. I just, look, we saw it last year. In the new playoff format, the Big 12 does not get talked about at all. And we're partners with ESPN. Yeah, I don't know. I can't really talk about that anymore. So that's my feelings. I would prefer the security getting teams in, and hopefully you qualify more. It's better than not getting teams in and then never winning any games because you don't compete. You can't win games you never get scheduled for. You can't win a tournament you don't have a team in. Anyway, great to see you, C. John. I appreciate you. John Dry says 4-4-4 until the ACC folds. Okay, there you go. I'm all for 4-4-4-4. Argra, I don't understand Big 12 fans pushing back on 2 auto bids. It's like they don't see what happened in the past season. Argra, you got it. That's it, brother. That is facts, baby. John Dry says 5-5-5-1. That's 15-16. Okay, we're at 16. Hey, I'm all for going to 24. If we're going to get a real tournament here, let's go to 36. There's all kinds of tournament models we could use. I want to get rid of the buys, though. I don't like the buys. That's why I like 16, and everybody plays a home game the first round. That's the format I like. However you get there, 5-11, 4-4, 2-2, whatever. Let's just start playing some football. Shonsky says, Bomber, they will get 2 landscape changes in college football. Too much to be locked in. Okay. You might be right. Shonsky, is possible. John Dry, half of the SEC and the Big 10 are less than the bottom of the Big 12, not counting UCF and Cincinnati. Look, the top of the Big 12 is going to be able to compete every year in any league. They're going to compete and be competitive. The best teams in the league. I didn't even say who those teams are. I just said the best teams in the league every year. They would be competitive in these other leagues. Because that's how talent works now. It has nothing to do with the conference. I want to get rid of the conferences when it comes to football. Tony Lawson says the Big 12 champ would be 5-4 in the Big 10. I don't agree with that, Tony, but I love you anyway. It's great to see you. I missed you and Ryan earlier in the show. It's great to have you here. Bob Swinger says it only works for so long. Steve Moser, Indiana just went 8-1. I'm not sure what we're talking about there, but they did Indiana made the playoff, guys. Look. Indiana has no power opponents for the next 5 years in out of conference. Don't judge. They're trying to get to the playoff. They've set a goal. They're going to execute their plan to get there every year, and that's how they're going to do it every year. Steve Moser, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for being here tonight. It really is good to see you. Let's see. Justin R. always comes in at the end of the shows. Justin, he must work swing shift. It's great to have you here, Justin. Thank you so much. USF Bulls. I'm a fan. You know that. 24 teams, 10 FBS champs, 14 at large. You finish 1-8. You get a bye and a home playoff game in the second round. Champs that don't finish in the top 8 get the first round home game. I think you said that last time. You probably have that on cut and paste. There you go. I don't know. I don't think there's probably a lot of chance that happens, but hey, until it's outlawed, anything's possible, right? Bob Swinger, Indiana isn't the only team doing that. I know, Bob. I was just using Indiana as an example because that's the one that's been in the news. I know there's other schools that are doing that. Our Gra, Indiana is shameful. I get not wanting a hard schedule, but that's overboard. Yeah, it's something. It's something. They want to be in the playoff, guys. Come on, they want to be in the playoff. Can we really fault Indiana for executing their plan? It's the Boise State plan, for heaven's sakes. Be king of a small conference. Be king of a small conference and get that one bid every year. That's a plan. Boise State is executing their plan. There's no reason Indiana can't do the exact same thing. It's what the system is. Until you build other checks and balances in the system, it's not going to change. It's going to get worse before it gets better. CMOs are referring to the idiotic take that the Big 12 champ would go 5-4 in the Big 10. Yeah. Bob Swinger says, Argra, look at our out-of-conference schedule. It sucks. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's up and down. The P2, and it's making it into the A4 as well. It just, yeah. Tony Lawson, Ole Miss is only playing 8 P4 games, same as last year. Shameful. But they'll tell you they're in the SEC, and every one of their P4 games is like playing Alabama every week, Tony. So the rest of us should just shut up and let them do their thing. SEC is ridiculous. All right, I'm going to wrap this thing up. 2 hours is a long time for me to talk. I appreciate everybody sticking with me. I will do a last call out if you want to join the show as a last to keep me around for a few more minutes. I don't know why you would, but if you do want to do that, call me now, 801-899-6203, and I will get you on the show. That we have a bunch of late watchers, almost 250 people watching. I appreciate everybody. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications, follow me on Twitter, follow the College Football Mafia on Twitter. That's our main Twitter page. And get involved with what we do around here. I love having these shows. I love hearing from you guys. And I love doing this stuff. So if you missed the beginning of the show, it had a lot of news and notes in it. I encourage you to go back and watch the first 45 minutes roughly. Because all I was doing was reporting on news that came out today or in the last couple days. What else have I missed, everybody who's been here since the beginning? I can't think of anything else that's really important. You guys are always the best and the smartest out there watching channels. I know our channel and a couple others that most of you guys watch. They're all the best that there is. And you're in the right place. That's all I can tell you. We appreciate your super chats. We appreciate the memberships and you getting involved. That's what helps us keep going. We're going to start asking again, and we'll do this tomorrow in our Friday, Big Freaking Friday show, is we want more show ideas, right? We're getting back into the season. We want more things that we can do for the members. Start sending in the comments. Let us know what we need to be doing. Send us DMs on Twitter, me, Mo, and Ute. Hell sakes, send them to Daniel or any of the rest of the team. And let us know other things that we can be doing for the members. We absolutely will put time into those things if you guys want them. We just need to know about them, right? During the off season, we're sort of used to just doing news, and so this is not a big deal. During the season, though, it's a little bit different, and I want to cover those things if at all possible. John Boxenleitner just got in here. Wait a second. He did. John, good to see you, John. It's been a minute, man. 6-4-12. No AQs, no buys. 6 top conference champs. 4 top conference runners-up. 12 teams not in a conference title game play playing games on conference championship weekend. Man, I love it. Let's get more creative. I love the creativity. It's fantastic. Thank you, John. It's great to see you. It's always good to see you when you pop in. See, John. Okay, say the Big 12. Say Big 12. Your mark were to support 4-4-2-2. How do you think that model uplifts negotiations in 29 with media partners, private capital, etc.? Seems to me 4-4-2-2 create a devaluing effect. Your thoughts? Okay. Does everybody really want me to get into this tonight? Okay, I'll do this. I've been putting it off. I thought about doing a show. This is the problem with that as just an idea being the issue, John. And this is C. John. Sorry, this is the reason. Because I will throw it back at you. I'll answer a question with a question. What is the value going to be in the negotiations in 29-30 if the Big 12 only qualifies one team in the playoff every year for the next 5 years? What's the devaluing effect of that going to be? Which is the risk that's greater? Another question for you. Which is the greater risk? The Big 12 going from A4 to it would be P2, A1, or maybe A3, and then a fourth with the Big 12 below the ACC. That absolutely could happen. If the ACC every year gets 2 teams in, the Big 12 only gets 1 team in every year. What is the devaluing effect of that on the Big 12? And you might say, well, that's not what history says. History says with these same teams and these schedules. Look, I understand all of that. I get what Brett Yormark's saying from that standpoint. But history doesn't matter anymore. We're no longer talking in a bipolar world where it's either you're in or you're out. Now it's this sort of homogenized, everybody's supposed to be equal, but they're not equal, and money isn't equal. And now everybody's competing for the same thing, but they're doing it with 12 with additional slots to compete. Now it's about getting into the dance, as it were. This is like the basketball tournament. If you have a league that only qualifies one team in every year in the basketball conference championships, when you go and do your negotiations, they're going to look at you and go, okay, you're a fun little colonial league, but you only qualify one team every year and that's your champion. We're not going to pay you much more than what you're already making because you're not making us any more money. Football's not any different than that. So I don't have an answer to your question directly. All I can say is I understand the argument. My concern is that the risk is greater than the reward. Another question, to answer another question. What happens if the Big 12 only qualifies one team every year, and it's the champion, right? They get that champion in every year. But the rest of the league ends up everywhere between 9 and 7 wins is the average every year. The league ends up being mediocre. So your next negotiation, 29-30, somebody comes and says, you've only gotten one team in your league every year to get to the playoff, and your conference isn't real exciting to watch. It's the most competitive conference, but everybody's in the same general win-loss because they're all beating each other. Is that good for the Big 12? That could happen. You know, the reason that we wanted the ACC to blow up was to bring those other brands into the Big 12 and essentially create an A3 and have the remainder schools have to do something else. I didn't really spend a lot of time on what the everything else would be because the Big 12 would have become now a 20-team league essentially, or 20 plus, and they're too big to fail. You can't get rid of them. Now you have to do a P3. And they might not make equal money. It might not be a third, but they would be that next conference. That's where I think we're going to end up unless we go to a division that is a super division that is just all of the teams that can pay the freight to compete. And I don't know what that looks like. Lots of ways I could put in to qualify for that. You have to have a certain win-loss record. Your school has to subsidize your athletics programs a certain amount. You have to have certain facilities on campus. I don't know what it is, but there have to be ways to separate, the wheat and the chaff in college football, because all teams are not the same. Team 136 or 135 is not the same as team 10. They're just not. And we're holding on to this old world idea that it will always be that way, and it won't. It simply is impossible. The law of conservation says things consolidate over time, and you have to lose something to promote something. I just watched Interstellar the other day. The only way man can go forward is if they leave something behind. That's one of those laws they talked about. And I think that's where we're at with college football. I mean, don't put a value statement on it. I just think that's where it's at. And I just happen to be with a school in a conference that is on the cusp. So I love the discussion around the playoff. It is interesting, but it's tiring because I can't seem to break through. The mantra coming out of Big 12 land has been so concerted and so industrialized, so distributed through mouthpieces throughout the conference. It's been tough to. I admit I'm getting tired of it because I do not see it the other way. By playing spoiler, how can the Big 12 claim that as a win? We won just because we didn't lose. That's the win we're going to claim. We win 5-11. It keeps the Power 2 apart. And that is what our stated claim was. It has nothing to do with participation in the playoff. It just has to do with making sure that the P2 don't get together and do their own thing. That's what we've devolved to as a conference. The only way we can really stay relevant is to keep others from becoming more relevant. I don't see it. I cannot drink the Kool-Aid. I'm sorry. I know a lot of Big 12 people hate me. And there's a lot of BYU people that don't like what I've said either. I know Jeff Fuller and I are going to go round and round on a show like talking about this because he thinks 511 is great and genius. And he and I are just going to have to, eventually we're going to agree to disagree, but it'll be a fun discussion. But I don't know. It's very difficult for me to claim other people not doing good things means that we win. That's not how I was raised. Michael Smith, it's been a minute. Where you been, brother? It's good to see you too. Is NIT worth saving Olympic sports? Or is it? Sorry. Is it worth saving Olympic sports? I don't know. What do you guys think? If you're asking my opinion, I say no. Make them at BYU. A lot of sports are going to become club sports, or they already are club sports. They're not part of the NCAA structure. They're part of some other type of leagues, like the volleyball teams, national champions, won many, many, many national championships, but it's not part of the NCAA championship. And it's because the money is just outrageous to support some of these other programs. And there's only so much money. Every school has a limit. Every school has a limit. So no, I hate it. Like, I like tennis. I like all sports. But I do not have the time or energy to pay attention. So what I hate, though, is what they've done to those athletes that they promise things to, and then they're just dropping things like a bad habit. They should have been phased out, not cut. That really bugs me, what these schools are doing. Really pisses me off. At BYU, they cut back scholarships for tennis is one thing. And it sucks because they recruited somebody, sold them on something. They come to the school and find out, nope, those spots no longer exist. We cannot afford to support those sports or that number of scholarships or whatever it is. And you're wrecking. I mean, this wrecks kids' dreams. And I cannot believe the House settlement did this to these schools. These players are going to do a class action. What's going to happen is all these players that have been designated student athletes are going to do a class action. They're going to get paid, but it'll probably be when they're 35 years old. It's absolutely ridiculous what they're doing. So I don't think it is worth saving. The only way I see Olympic sports surviving, is there's a subsidy or a tax write-off or a kickback schools get that want to support those programs. They can get benefits from the government in some way, shape, or form to subsidize those sports. That's how I think Olympic sports will continue to survive. I could be wrong. Maybe Trump's national program will take hold. Everybody will fall in line behind Donald Trump, and he'll save college sports for us. I think that is one of the most stupidest things I've ever heard in my life. Timothy Green, where have you been? Holy cow, you guys showing up late. It's great to see you, Timothy. Appreciate you being here. Timothy is a soldier out on the East Coast protecting us in West Virginia land. Appreciate you. Bomber, pause. I just wanted to drop in and hit the like button and go to the doctor in the morning. I'll catch you guys up later. I just know it's been a great show. Y'all have a good night. You have a great night too, Timothy. I hope you're doing well. I'm sorry. Hopefully it's just a checkup. Let me know if there's something else going on, okay? Because if you need help, I want to provide it for you. Tony says, I'd rather be in the Big 12 than the ACC going forward. I agree with you. I think the Big 12 of the two is in a better position. However, we don't know what's going on in the background. I think the Big 12 and the ACC might both be in real trouble by this shadow thing that's going on in the background. Nobody has any information on that Greg has talked about several times. Peek around the corner if you don't know who I'm talking about. Let's see if there's any new ones. You guys are having conversation. I don't need to get in the middle of that. Shonsky says, that's the vision you have. I want to compete. You said it yourself, Bomber. BYU has stepped up. Texas Tech has stepped up. Baylor has stepped up. I think private schools will step up. It's easier for private schools generally to do that because they normally don't run large deficits. They can't afford it. So everything is cash. They run, and certainly church schools don't have as much money on the private side to do stuff like that, whereas state schools can run huge deficits and their constituents bail them out. So I think there's more flexibility in private schools, which is why the private schools can spend more money, which is like why the Big East in basketball is going to be a monster, because most of those are religious institutions, if not all of them. And they're going to put $20 million into basketball. Good luck competing with St. John's when their NIL budget is all basketball, men's basketball. They could be dynasty land there. You guys are so great. I appreciate it. Thanks for sticking with me for a little bit longer. I appreciate everybody letting me go off script a little bit. I do enjoy it, and I appreciate all of you doing that for me. You guys are doing a great job, and tune in tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Will be another edition of the Big Freaking Friday Show. I will be there again. I've been off the last couple weeks. Last week, you guys had a bender, and that was all well and good. I don't know if I can do that after I get off tomorrow night, but hopefully it'll be a fun show anyway. So I invite everybody to be here tomorrow night. If you're watching right now on X, do me a favor, jump over to YouTube or open YouTube on your phone, multi-screen, and hit that subscribe button. Really do us a solid. Bunch of people watching right now live. Picked up a bunch of new watchers just in the last 20 minutes. We're trying to get to 5,000 subs. There is a reason I'm asking everybody to do that. We're pushing to a number by the end of the summer, 5,000. If we get there, we're going to do a special members only event that should be a lot of fun. So become a subscriber today, and then consider becoming a member of the College Football Mafia family. Follow me on Twitter. And turn on your notifications on YouTube and on Twitter so you know when we're doing stuff. I appreciate everybody's time. I want to thank you all for being here tonight with me. And let's just say we'll check out to see how things go in the news tomorrow. Friday news dumps have been every week this summer, including 4th of July week, which was extraordinary. So I would look for more news tomorrow. maybe more news on the CSC, maybe more rebuttal news from the lawyers. I don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to get more news tomorrow. Something's going to happen. The off season is no longer the off season, everybody. The off season is just the non-football season. That's what we should start calling it. Appreciate everybody being here tonight for my call-in show. All those people that called in, thank you very much. And everybody stay out of trouble, okay? I'm going to say peace out and stay true to the blue. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.